This is the vocabulary breakdown for Chapter 7, where we learned about third declension nouns. Before we get to the definitions, I want to make sure everybody is clear on how to identify a third declension noun. So let's use the first word here as an example. Remember, you always go to your second word in the dictionary entry to find declension and base. Cut off the genitive singular ending, we get an is, which we know is the genitive singular ending for third declension. We see that it's masculine, so we know this is a third declension masculine noun. And we know that our base is AMOR. And remember how important it is to go to your second word in the dictionary entry, because your first word, the nominative singular, isn't always going to reflect accurately what the base is. So go to your second word, cut up the genitive singular ending from your base, and that will give you declension and base. If this is still confusing to anyone for first, second, or third declension, you need to come see me right away. Okay, so our first word on the list today is amor, amoris, masculine. It means love, related to words like amo and amicus that we've learned earlier. And amor, spelled backwards, is Roma, spelled backwards. So kind of cool, and to reflect how neat the association of these two words is, the Roman Emperor Hadrian, and he was the Roman Emperor in 117 to 138, and he did a lot of really neat building projects, and one of the building projects that he had was to build back-to-back temples, one of them to Venus, or Amor, the goddess of love, and one of them to Roma, or Rome, and he did them back to back because their names reflected each other. It was kind of like a visual representation of how the actual words are mirror images of each other. Kind of cool, really interesting emperor. Next word is Carmen, Carminus, neuter. It means song or poem. Civitas, civitatis, feminine. It means state or citizenship. Pretty popular word, make sure you know it. And city is a derivative of civitas, but it is not a translation of it. So watch out for that. It is more like the abstract idea of state. And I would also say that state is more common than citizenship. But that's it for civitas. Next is corpus, corporus, neuter. It means body. So for example, someone who is corpulent is someone who is ulent is the suffix for full of. So someone who is full of body, or someone who is a bit rotund. Our next word is homo, hominis, masculine. It means human being or man, and this is man in terms of mankind. It's the one without gender implied. So it does not mean a masculine male, it just means all mankind, if you will. We get words like homicide from it. Homicide is killing of a human being. Labor, laboris, masculine, means labor, work, toil, or it can mean a work or production. Littera, litteri, feminine, means a letter of the alphabet, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Or in the plural, litteri, litterarum, it means a letter. So a letter, an epistle, if you will, has a bunch of little letters in it, and that's why it's the singular word for a letter. Or it can mean literature. Once again, literature, you open up a book, there's tons of little letters in there, and altogether it means literature. So that's how the plural and singular work for littera. And then lastly, mos, morus, masculine, means habit, custom, or manner. And this is habit like you sleep in the morning, or you brush your teeth, etc. So mos means habit, and then mores, which is actually a word we have in English, morum in the plural means habits, morals, or character. So essentially, your character is the summation of your habits. Kind of an interesting idea right there. So here we have the mores right there, or you have moral, for example, as a derivative. Continuing on to our last bit of nouns. I have less to say on these ones, but let's go through them quickly regardless. Here we have nomen, nominus, neuter, it means name. So even our word nominative comes from this word. Pax, pacus, feminine, means peace, like pacify or pacifist. Regina, reginae, feminine, means queen. So for example, the name Regina, if you've ever met someone with the name Regina, it literally means queen. Rex, regis, masculine, means king. So you get things like regicide, which is the killing of a king, or regal. And just be aware that rex, regis, as you can see the is right here, is third declension, whereas regina, regina, you see the ae ending there, is from first declension. So I don't want anyone to get confused between those two. Tempus, temporis, neuter, means time, occasion, or opportunity. So for example, the word tempo in music keeps the time. Terra, terrae, feminine, means earth, ground, land, or country. So for example, subterranean is something that is under the ground. Uxor, uxoris, feminine, means wife. Virgo, virginus, feminine, means maiden or virgin, like our word virgin and virginity. Virtus, virtutis, feminine, means manliness, courage, excellence, character, worth, or virtue. It's kind of an interesting word. Tus is a suffix that means the quality of being. So this word literally means the quality of being a man. So it's manliness. But of course, with all of the sexist connotations that man had in this day and age, if you were a true man, you had courage and excellence and character and worth and virtue and so forth. So kind of interesting sexist word, but virtus is what we get for virtue, which is full of manliness, literally. And lastly, we have an adjective right here. Novus, noa, novum. It means new or strange. So for example, we have the word novice, someone who is new at something, or innovate, to create something new. Here are the last words we have, starting with two prepositions. Post is a preposition that comes with the accusative, and it means after or behind. So for example, your posterity are the generations that come after you. Posthumous is an interesting etymology. It was originally related to a Latin word posthumus, which just means last. But then in late Latin, they associated it with another Latin word, humus, which means ground. And then they combined the two, and it became the time after which post you were in the ground. Humus. So that's how we get posthumous. Kind of an interesting etymology there. Next is sub. It's a preposition that takes the ablative when it's a position at or motion from. So for example, the snake is under the rock, or the snake is coming out from under the rock. And then it's the accusative with verbs of motion. So for example, the snake is sliding under the rock, so he's going to that location. So that's how that works. There's a variety of translation words you can have: under, up, under, close to, down to, into, to, at the foot of, etc. Under is a pretty good starting base though. And there is also a prefix that we see in a lot of different words that we'll see as we go along in Latin. So watch out for that. And then finally we have two verbs. Our first one is audeo, audera, aususum. The first thing to understand is that it has an unusual third principal part that is called a semi-deponent verb, which won't be explained until chapter 34. So just ignore that for right now. The only two pieces of information you really need anyway are the first two. And it means to dare, and audeo is almost always, not always, but almost always going to come with a complementary infinitive. So I dare to do this. I dare to speak out. I dare to to kill the consul or something like that. So that's our first word, or excuse me, first verb. And then our second verb here is neko, nekara, nekawi, nekatum. And it means to murder or to kill.